Are you ready to learn what red flags keep an eye out for when looking for love?
Then we got you covered. I'm Brianna.
And I'm Alex.
And this is the podcast where we unpack reality TV and call out the bullshit.
So that you show up confidently while dating and in relationships.
Welcome to
Ditch the Script.
I love it. Hey, girl.
Hey, girl, hey.
Hey.
What's up?
A lot and also nothing, you know?
Yeah.
I'd say the biggest update is I moved into my house.
Yay!
Here we are. And not the slow move anymore. I'm sleeping here. And
that's when you know it's real.
Yeah. My parents were like, "Does it feel real yet?" And I said, "No. I have to sleep there. I gotta like make a meal." I feel like making that first meal really solidifies it. Actually cutting a hole into the drywall solidified it. I was like,
I saw that. What was that about?
We had to replace the dryer vent or else it was going to probably cause a fire.
Oh, I'm really glad you did that, Brianna.
Yeah. So my cousin's husband, who used to work on ACs, came over, and I like trust him, and also he's listening. So hey, David. And he basically was like, "Yeah, I'm going to help you, but I'm not helping you without you doing it because you own this home. Yeah. It's important to know how to do shit here." And I was like, "Word, I'm totally up to that." And I posted that on Instagram, and people were very concerned about me. They were like, "You are cutting the wrong way. You're doing a lot of things wrong." And I'm letting people know that you're right. I'm doing it wrong, but I'm learning, and I'll try to be as safe as possible.
Well, for the record, I watched it and didn't know you were doing anything wrong. So looked like you were just being a fierce ass, badass bitch. That's what that looked like. You were like, "This drywall, I'm going to show it who's boss.
I'm going to show it. I'm going to show it out the door is what I'm going to show it." I appreciate that.
Well, yeah, I love that. Also, David, cheers to you. Empowering the student to do it, to take ownership.
Heck yeah.
And solve the problem. Amazing teaching tactic. I love that.
Absolutely.
Applause.
What's going on with you?
Jordan's still sick and he's on a lot of drugs, antibiotics. I mean, you know, the kind that doctors prescribe you. And, yeah, he has a follow-up next week. So at that point, like, he'll be better or he will need more tests. I keep saying we, cause I'm like there for moral support, but this really has nothing to do with me. And it's all about Jordan's gut.
You've been driving the bus though. So
yeah, I've been trying. I know. Yeah. It's a weird sensation having to take care of your partner and feeling like you can't solve the problem, so you feel like you're taking up space, but you also want to like give them back rubs and make sure that they're okay. It's just, you know,
it's
learning.
Though, because
this is learning. Yeah.
Right. But your life also doesn't stop happening. So having to like be flexible and like check in with your priorities and shift them a little bit to make work happen. See that he's okay, see that you're okay, see that your clients are okay.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, I've built some baby entrepreneur muscle. Maybe more medium. They're growing.
Yeah. But growth is happening.
It is. So I'll keep y'all posted.
Word.
Yeah.
Oh, I got a new car today.
Oh, wait, no, that's huge news, Brianna. Okay, well, you need to explain why that's such a big deal.
Yeah, a little bit of context.
This is great. Yay.
It's really good news. So I had a new car. I did have one. I got it in the beginning of September, and I was pretty quiet about it because I don't really like to flex like that. And I got a Bronco Sport, like a brand new one, because I don't know what fever dream I was in, but I was like, I'm going to just spend a lot of money. Here we go. No, I had sold my last car and I got like a nice check for it and the car was paid off. So I used that money to buy a new car. And my mom was without a car for a while. Her car was getting worked on. And so she was driving it one day. This was actually the day before my birthday. And it was totaled, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, okay. We're really thankful that your mom is safe, but you need to explain, because I was in shock when you told me what happened to this vehicle.
It was intense, and I think that it was just a lot for the day. I had family and friends coming in to like celebrate my birthday, so it was plans made it to be this like massive deal. The car accident was huge, and I'm like so grateful that she's okay. And she was just so distraught though, because she felt so bad.
Of course, yeah.
So now she goes around and she tells people that she thinks she's the first person in history to wreck their own kid's car instead of vice versa. And I keep telling her that that's not as funny as she thinks that it is. But
I think she needs to like work in, my second career choice is Evel Knievel, flipping vehicles and shit.
That's right. That's right.
That's a little bit funnier. Go down that way, Lynn.
Yeah. Let's take on your new career path. And I told her that my new career could be flipping vehicles because I made a little money off of it. So we are in new businesses, all of us. Then it was, a big deal with insurance, just trying to figure out the pieces, and my mom and I are cool. I had to handle all of the business ends of it with insurance, but like I did that because sometimes life throws you really unpredictable shit, and you just got to boss up and take care of it.
Take it as it comes.
And for the sake of just like moving on, and like a car is expensive, but it's replaceable, and my mom is not. So so lucky, really.
Yeah, seriously. So when you sent me that text, I was like, oh God, I was like, the day that it happened, I was freaking out. So I'm really glad that the only thing that was harmed was the car, and now you have a new one. Talk about adulting, man, for real.
Yeah, and it's funny because I saw you so shortly after that. And I don't know if you and I ever really had space with my mom. Like we were with my mom, and it was so quick after the accident that it was just sort of like, oh man, here we are hanging out together. And I feel like I would love to feel differently right now, but you caught us on an upswing. We'd already had our big blowout that allowed us to clear the air a little bit. So you caught us on the upswing.
Yeah.
Girl.
But I'm so glad. So you got a new vehicle. Woohoo.
New vehicle. We're doing it. You just got to keep it pushing.
Yeah. And now you got your wheels and you're a free woman. Watch out, Florida.
Once again. Carefully. I will be.
Prepare yourself.
I'm going to be the most careful. I did tell my mom, I was like, listen, you don't get to even get near this other car, Mom. Like, you just don't. You can sit in it, but driving it is just off limits. And she's like, yeah, that's cool. So we're okay.
I like it. Respecting the boundaries.
Yeah, I really appreciate this about my family, is that like we are sometimes like we don't always see the end to all of our conflicts, which is something that I'd love for all of us to make an effort on, but we're getting there. But to be able to like use humor to like get through the sticky parts, I do very much appreciate.
Yeah. And talking about relationships, a little science here, being able to use humor is what Gottman Institute considers as one of the skills that master couples, quote unquote, implement during difficult times. So it is, it's scientifically proven that if you can bring humor to a challenging situation, and I mean, when you think about it, that's not really a surprise, but using humor as a way to connect during shitty circumstances creates that glue, that bond between any kind of relationship. Yeah.
That's really cool to hear, because there's a part of me that wonders if humor is used inappropriately in some of those situations. Does it feel like a deflection? Do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, and I think that this is where beautiful, beautiful question. And I think that this is where we need to be really mindful of active listening and making sure that we are hearing people's words, because you're absolutely right. There are types of like hostile sarcasm and things where they use humor to shift blame or skirt the conversation altogether. But what Gottman means when he's saying, you know, successful couples utilize, or relationships utilize humor, it's more being able to be a little bit like, oh gosh, my inability to take a joke kind of got in the way there, didn't it? Like, it's kind of like you're making fun of yourself, you know, you're kind of admitting your faults while still being able to empathize with your partner and what they're bringing up, you know, instead of...
It does...
Go ahead.
It breaks that tension. It breaks that tension a little bit.
Yeah. So that was like a very surface level example, but it's very different than someone using sarcasm as a way to get under your skin. And then usually what happens when it's negative sarcasm is the person will speak up like, that's not funny. And then the warning sign is that was a joke, or wow, you don't have a sense of humor, which goes into the gaslighting cycle. So those are the differences. And if anyone has follow-up questions on that, you know where to find us.
Yeah. Talk about a personal trigger is me hearing, wow, I guess you don't have a sense of humor. It was a joke.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. No.
That one's tough.
Me too. Me too. And you know, yeah. Yep. I'm just going to say me too, and we are going to move on from that.
Yeah. Okay. So, Michelle Young continues to be a queen.
Time for batch breakdown number, what is this, 3?
Batch breakdown number 3, baby.
Ooh,
break it down, break it down,
yes,
break it down, break it down.
A lot happened in this episode too.
Yeah. And generally, I didn't feel that it was it didn't feel like it was filled with new drama. It felt like the outpour of what we saw last week. Yep. And I sort of actually really like to be able to see how that played out without new additional pieces added. And you can sort of see in the previews for future episodes, as my mom stated, they had to pick a new villain. And so we'll get there. Okay, so we sort of start with the group date where Michelle, takes her group date attendees to like an air travel boot camp.
The Palm Springs Air Museum. Which, by the way, I live 5 minutes from there. I could throw a rock there. Okay. And been there before as well. And I always crash in the flight simulator. I'm just not cut out to be a pilot. Don't anyone ever let me fly a plane. But yeah, like who the hell creates these dates? Like, I really feel like the producers sit around and they're like, what are your worst date nightmares? Let's make them do it. Because mind you, when this is filming, they're freaking doing calisthenic PE, elementary school PE exercises in 120 degree weather, by the way.
It's a
a flight suit.
That's a no.
What? Like, okay. I'm not okay with it, but yes, they go there reaching. And do that.
What season of like the Bachelor series are they on? They're on season like 1,000,004. So they're reaching at this point.
I think like total, it's like 40s. It's in the 40s.
Yeah. So they've run out of ideas. And especially you have like COVID, because I know that the Bachelor series, they typically like take them to other places, don't they?
Yes, correct.
Instead of having them in this like bubbled hub.
Yep. Yeah, the seasons have very much been local within the U.S., nothing outside of the U.S. Yeah, and let me tell you, Palm Springs Air Museum, it ain't that great.
Let's just say it's not exactly like a romantic opportunity for a date. It's more of like, take your kid there because they love aeroplanes. Yeah,
and there's air conditioning inside, by the way. It's
Great.
Inside.
Big perk down there.
They were not inside.
They were
during
not.
This part.
And they were flipping and they were moving quite quickly, which I imagine added to the heat.
that whole thing, I mean, yeah, you're sick as a dog just standing outside doing high knees in 120-degree weather. And then it's like, let me get in this thing that pulls 4Gs and make you spin around on like a 360 axis while you confess your love for me. What?
Right. Yeah.
It's nauseating in all the ways
that it could be. So the things to note in that group date, as extra as it was that, you know, there's usually on a group date, there's like an opportunity for like the men to go head to head. And then there's like a winner, and the winner gets a little bit of bonus time with Michelle. Right. So Will, you know, producers put Will and Peter up against in this. What's the style of battling that they're doing in that call?
It was like some gladiator. I don't know. It was weird.
Someone help us out in our comments section, please. Let us know what we're talking about. But they put them head to head. They have these like foam weapons, and they announce a clear winner after every match. And so at the end of it, they announce like a general winner, and that winner was Will. And so Will gets this like flight style bomber jacket. He gets a little bit of time with Michelle. They do a little smoochy, and then they have their like group date cocktail, right? Yeah, which is when we see Peter's behaviors reach a new level. Yeah, he reached a new level of douchebag for me in this moment.
Yeah, because of the vindictiveness of it all. So really quick, just to recap, in case you're following along or not watching the series at all, Will and Peter are the two dudes from last week's episode who were at each other's throats, screaming at each other, blah, blah, blah. So, of course, the producers are like, "Mwahaha, we're going to set you two up to go at it in this ring." And Will is declared, as Bri said, he gets this jacket, whatever. And now they're throwing a couple drinks back and are sitting on a couch across from each other. And lo and behold, guess what happens again? They're at each other's throats.
Yeah, Peter's being a raging douche. And they get into that fight. And it's funny because you and I were talking last episode about how they were yelling at each other. And when any two people are yelling at each other, especially at the exact same time, you're not getting anywhere. You're not resolving a conflict. You're definitely also not winning a conflict, if that's what you entered that chat to do. So they are going at each other again, and they're just being so petty, the two of them. They're being like very immature. And then Will has like a one-on-one moment with
Wait, really
Michelle.
quick before we move on, because I know where you're going, but I just want to hit pause and say, I applaud all of the gentlemen for leaving the area. Literally as they went out it, because that's how obnoxious it is. Like, imagine you're out on one of those like loungy couches, everyone has a drink, they're trying to have a good time, and two people are just screaming at each other. It's not a fun environment to be in.
Yeah, it's a shit.
All of the dudes,
situation.
they one by one get up and leave, except Nate, who's awkwardly sitting between the two of them and trying to be as chill or as cool as a cucumber, as I should say. And it's just like observing it like a tennis match. It was hilarious to watch.
Yeah, it was actually, that was one of my favorite bits from this episode, is when the producers just like zoomed in on Nate just sitting there like an abandoned child. That was hysterical. I did love that.
Yeah, and so go ahead. You were moving on to the big vindictive moment. Oh my God, I can't.
Will's having his one-on-one like conversation with Michelle, and then Peter, because he's a third grader, grabs the earned bomber jacket that Will won from the challenge, and he is like, "I'm just gonna go take a walk. I'm gonna take a walk. I'm just taking it for a spin." Whatever like pompous bullshit attitude he has in this moment, goes to the pool, the hotel pool, and then throws the jacket in the pool. Now the other boys are just sort of like, they're not gassing him up. They're just sort of like trying to like lightly be like, "Dude, what are you doing? What are you doing?" They don't know what he's about to do. He comes back and he's like, they're like, "What'd you do with the jacket, dude? You clearly don't have it." And he's like, "Oh, I just thought it was still dirty. Maybe it needed a little bath." Like as I'm saying this, I just want to throw up. Because it's like, this is not behavior that should be coming out of an adult.
No, 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 no. And this whole, like in his confessional, the words that he was using, I quoted, you know, this is a symbol of the disrespect he's been getting. No, no, no. Guys, look, and like, here's the thing is, I think a lot of people, and I hear this with women a lot, not saying that, you know, these petty behaviors always are at the same level to what Peter demonstrated to us. But when we try and do something to get back at a person, that is vindictiveness. That is seeking revenge, right? And so what we need to understand is the second you go down that road, all you're doing is establishing a precedent that it's okay to treat and be treated that way, right? And it's not. And so if you're ever tempted to do something or say something to make a point, to get back, to cause harm because they harmed you, that is more of a reflection of you and your character than it is of the other person.
Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that, because so many times I hear and experience people, a lot of times it's been women, but maybe I just haven't had the opportunity to talk to men when they are confronted with similar situations. But
right.
People will be like, well, he said this, so I'm just going to do that, which is matching a behavior that you yourself are recognizing that you are not accepting, that you don't find tolerable. Yeah. You don't love the feedback that you're getting or the behavior that you're getting from this person that you are in now like a quarrel with. And so therefore it feels justified to act in a way that feels very synonymous with their like category of actions. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, if you really want to make them feel like shit for treating you that way, let them know.
Yeah. And that's it. I didn't like the way that you treated me there. And if you don't see an issue with that, then we have a bigger problem. That is enough. That is enough. You know, it doesn't need to be in this whole Mean Girls, what was it called? The burn book. Like, no, like, we don't need to go down these crazy, like these crazy behaviors. They have been normalized. It's like fighting fire with fire. Like I said last week, the drama of it all is something that, and I think because of shows like this, where we observe and we're like, oh, so he got away with it, I'm going to go do it, you know? Cause like, no one really said that was messed up. He just didn't get a rose. Spoiler alert.
Yeah,
Peter doesn't get a rose.
Which is interesting, because Michelle did come back from whatever chat she had, and clearly like the vibes were off, but she had no idea that happened.
Right.
And actually no one brought it to her attention, which I was surprised about. I mean, maybe we never saw it, but she did get rid of him eventually, which I am grateful for.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Because honestly, like, don't get me wrong, like he's actually been an incredible case study to bring to this podcast to like exemplify what this is quite common behavior in people, not just men, not just women, but it's common behavior in people that feel that they've been wronged, that feel justified to wrong that other person right back. And it's been helpful to be able to unpack so that we can really name why it's just so inappropriate and so not going to get you closer to your desired partner.
Yep.
But I'm tired of fucking talking about him.
Yeah, goodbye, Meatball Man. You brought me my meatball sub craving that was quenched or satisfied, and be gone with you.
Be gone with you.
Yeah, so that was that. Moral of the story, if you are hurting and you find yourself being tempted to participate in vindictive behaviors, instead, you pull them for the chat, as Brianna would like to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Copyright
Pull them
Love
for
Island.
the chat. Yeah, we should make merch with that on it.
Pull them for the chat.
Yes, pull them for the chat. I could totally see that on a hat or a hoodie.
Or a shirt like this. It says gun bun,
or a shirt,
but it could say...
in a gradient. Yeah,
pull
let's
them
do
for
it.
the chat.
Okay, so that was group date. Martin got the group date rose. Martin's bleached head guy.
I totally forgot about that. Yeah, I actually my one aside about Martin, and thank you for reminding me of his name, is that I should know their names. Is that he I actually I find him to be doing well in the context of Michelle's dating experience, but I don't totally trust him, and I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I just don't.
Yeah. Dude, I get what you're saying. I completely agree. Like my notes are on Martin is I haven't seen anything negative with him yet. And I also remember from last week when Jamie started stirring the pot, he actually confronted Jamie in a really great way where he said, "Is this something that you're actually hearing externally, or is this something that you are feeling? It's an insecurity that you are propelling the story." And so he hit the nail on the head. And so, you know, I agree with you. Like, I don't know if it's just the dual tone bleached hair thing that has me a little apprehensive.
I'm not sure his glasses have prescriptions in them. That's what's really throwing me off. I'm not sure. He's not sitting in front of a screen. They can't possibly be blue light glasses. So I don't trust the guy. I just don't trust him.
Yeah. So we will see. But yeah, I agree with you. My mind's not made up yet on that one. All right.
Our one-on-one date.
Moving on. With Rodny, the Apple Man.
Rodny. You know what stands out about the like story of Rodny played out in this episode is that before he goes on this date, like some of the guys are having their own confessional moments and they're like reflecting on him getting that one-on-one. And they don't take Rodny seriously in the context of the show. They don't. They like think Rodney's a great dude, which he does seem like that. And they think that he's like all jokes and very silly, but they're like, he's going to get friend zoned. And then he has this one-on-one date and he does quite well. And I thought that he was really endearing and sweet.
Me too. Yeah. I liked him a lot. Like a lot of good note. I have a funny note in here just because, I don't know if you remember, but when we first started analyzing this season, I jokingly said Jordan and I are going to be repeating any of the dates. So when he started streaking through the hotel lobby, I looked at Jordan. I was like, "Oh, so we got to go do that now." And he was like, "Wait, you or me?" But anyway, Jordan said that once the boys started watching, he's like, "That's when you just drop the pillow, expose yourself, and release the Kraken," were his actual words, which had me rolling on the floor laughing. And that's definitely why I love my boyfriend. He's hilarious. But yeah, like Rodny, he shared a lot of really good qualities. I loved the question that he asked her when they were sitting down, which was, in your last relationship, what went wrong? And I think it's a really brilliant question to ask because for anyone when you're dating, right? Because you want to see how they respond to that question. Are they gossiping? Are they blaming their ex for everything? Or do they take responsibility for what went wrong? And are they aware of what lessons they've learned so that moving forward into their next relationship, potentially with you, or in this case, Rodny, that they're not going to repeat those mistakes again, right?
Right.
So what about you? What did you notice?
I like the question that he asks too, because he gives you a little bit of insight to more about that person out of the context of this very like dreamlike state.
Right.
You know, I think about the beginning of most relationships, both parties are usually putting on like the best versions of themselves. Yeah. And it can, while you could be doing your best to show up as your authentic self and for the other person to be doing the same, it is sometimes still feels a little hard to really get to feel close to that person, really get to know them, know these other sides of the person and to show it because you don't want to put people off. So why I think that question is great is because it allows for a little bit of a deeper insight into what this person has gone through that can be characterized as like maybe a really challenging moment with still within being relevant to like a dating context. So it may not feel too personal to be like, okay, tell me about your earliest childhood trauma on this date. They're like, we're dating. Let's talk about what our past relationships were like. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a really healthy conversation to have. Actually, personal story, really quick, that's on point with this is the relationship that brought me to my rock bottom. Within the first couple weeks, we were like dating for 6 weeks at the time. I asked him that. I was like, "Hey, what have you learned like from your past relationships? Like, what have they looked like, and all of that?" And he literally responded saying, "I don't think knowing about each other's past is relevant at all. Like, it's in the past. We just need to move forward." Which, in the moment, I did not recognize it a red flag. It's a red flag, ladies and men, whoever's listening. If someone refuses to open up about their past, how the heck do you think they can be emotionally available and vulnerable with you moving forward? They can't.
Right.
And not only that, it usually means they're hiding something, which in my case, in that scenario, 100% was happening.
Yeah, right. No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to give Michelle a shout out for is, there's two things. One, she expresses her value of laughter and playfulness really well there. She expresses how much, my parents, they laughed together. They never lost that. That's really what, and again, going back to what we said, coincidentally at the beginning of this episode, humor, being able to handle the challenging times with a sense of humor together is so huge. And she literally talks about that. And then the other thing is, when she answered Rodney's question, she was explaining what sounded like her ex-partner spewing toxic positivity, when it really was a dynamic of morality with what she was discussing. And that was being called the N-word. Like, no, and this is my thing within relationships. At no point when your partner comes to you and says that they're upset about something, whether it was something as outlandish as that, being called a derogatory term, or something that you had done or said that hurts their feelings, you do not get to tell them how they should be feeling.
Right.
You don't. And so it really sounded like, and even if it is with good intent to console or comfort, but when someone is hurting, let them process that emotion. Don't meet them with being like, well, you're giving her more power because you're letting it get to you. No,
this is not the time for this is not the time for problem solving. I do think that people get really stuck when they hear an expression like that from their partners, whether it's an experience that they had that hurt them outside of their relationship, or it's an experience that they had within the relationship. And our instinct sometimes can be like, oh shit, how am I supposed to support this person? How am I supposed to help them? I really want to help them. Take a step back, take a deep breath, check in with yourself that you're actually still listening instead of gears already turning of how do I show up? This isn't about you. Yeah. Hold space for your partner. Let them express what they are feeling. Let them say what they need to say about this experience. Give them space to do that. What did we say last week? People just want to be heard.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like, there it goes again. I did it again. Habit.
That's also going to be on our merch. 100%.
Yes, 100%.
I hope so. Let's do it.
Oh my God. Let's. Okay. So, I had a brain fart. What were we just talking about?
We were talking about how holding space.
Holding space.
Holding space.
Yeah. And let's be real. 'Cause like, I feel like, I feel like the general stereotype is that men do tend to do this. Like, they jump into problem solving mode, which we can recognize is a very wonderful quality to have in a partner. Of course, we want someone to be there and go through this with us and to help us in any way that they can. But what's I think is a very important way, going back to practicing consent that we talked about a couple episodes ago, is if this is happening, ask your partner what they need from you. Do you need me to just listen? Do you need me to give you a solution? Do you want my advice? Do you want my opinion? And before they start going at it, and letting all of their inner emotions out, you can always ask, how can I support you right now? What do you need from me? And I think that's a beautiful way to avoid the damage that can come from negating what your partner is feeling as a way to try and solve for them. Yeah.
Beautifully said.
Cool. Oh, thanks. That's
You're
so
welcome.
sweet.
Makes sense that you're a
Okay.
professional.
Well, you too, Brianna.
Listen, we're employed for a reason. Self-employed for a reason.
Oh my
guess no
God,
one
I wouldn't
technically
change for the
hired
world. Yeah, no one asked us to create this podcast. We very much did it on our own accord. But
people have hired us, and
that's true.
is pretty legit.
That is very legit. So, gotta say, as we wrap up the Rodney one-on-one date, the absolutely when he accepted the rose.
So cute. Good pun.
Yeah.
Listen, recognize
Yes.
a good pun when you hear it.
Yeah, if Rodney makes it to the end and he's one of the ones proposing, he better have an apple on him.
Oh, that'd be
Just
really
keep
cute.
it.
But you know what? I don't see
Maintain
it for
the
him.
joke.
I don't see
Yeah,
it for him.
I don't either. I'm with you. I don't either. I don't think I haven't found my front runner yet. I haven't. I'm usually pretty good at calling out last two. I haven't found it yet. Haven't found it yet.
You let us know. Also, it's important to note for anyone who's listening that we are not engaging with spoilers.
Yes.
On purpose, though they are out there. So
Yeah.
we're really trying not to, because like, I don't know about you, but I really like showing up to this space like blank.
Agreed. Completely agreed. I think if we knew spoilers, it would skew what we're seeing. And the whole point of this show is just to see what we see and call out to educate whoever's listening to this on what to look for. And I think if we knew where the trajectory of the show was going because of spoilers, it would skew our ability to be able to objectively observe what's happening.
Yes, totally. And that's no shade to people who do love spoilers, and that enhances their experience of the show in a different way.
Totally.
But I agree. I think that I think if I knew who won, I would feel a little like love potioned.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't see
I
their
think that's a great way
behaviors.
to put it. And I think we would also probably give them the benefit of the doubt more if we did see anything come up, which negates the whole point of this show too. So
yeah, totally.
Yeah, I'm avoiding them like the plague. It's funny to say that now post COVID because it's like almost too relatable. But yeah, I mean, post COVID, it's not post COVID though. It feels like it's post COVID.
I don't know what episode of COVID we're in, but we're in episode a lot. That's where we are.
Yeah. We're in the middle of the sequels.
Group date 2.
Yeah, group date number 2. Yep. This whole spoken word thing. How do you feel about this kind of stuff? Out of curiosity.
I think that in the context of a show that like needs opportunities for group dates, I actually really like this, even though I know that giving someone the challenge to like get on stage and like express themselves is like probably some people's biggest fear.
Yeah.
But I think that I look at it this way: an opportunity for someone to actually check in with themselves and like give themselves the opportunity to say, what do I want to express here? What do I want to make known publicly and directly to this person that I'm really trying to win over? So can that be used as a manipulative tool? Absolutely. Can it be used to be honest and like show a side of yourself that maybe you haven't been able to because there's been a lot of drama and you've had time cut and you haven't been able to have one-on-one? That's also true in my perspective. What about you?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. If I'm being completely honest, these kinds of dates where you have to perform make me low-key anxious, I think because of my performance background, because I watch and I feel embarrassed for the people who don't do well. I have like stage mom anxiety. It's really weird. So Brandon, even though like I don't know these guys at all and will probably never talk to them at all, and it kind of like pulls me out of the enjoying, I'm just consuming this form of media, and makes me like I'm like coaching them. And so poor Brandon,
I see.
my notes for Brandon's spoken word is nah, robot, sweet, but nah.
Oh, you had literal notes. If anyone hasn't been in any like show type of experience or theater background or dance background, performing arts. If you haven't been in a performing arts background, when you run rehearsals and you run techs, your director immediately afterwards, you haven't even come down from anything that you've just done. Your director immediately slams you with feedback and
point your feet.
Yeah. It's likely not positive. It's always constructive, but it's likely not positive. And therefore, what we're seeing right now in real time is Alex is triggered. And she is.
Yeah.
And also you're fulfilling the role of like, you're like, I have notes for you on how you could do this better in the future. So.
Whereas Romeo, like he had a very meta joke, like obviously his name's Romeo and he went up and kind of made some Romeo poem. Like, for me, that to me is more my style. That's witty. I'm like, okay, you're making fun of yourself. I can get on board with that, you know? Like
I thought it got better.
I'm still waiting. Yeah, I agreed. And then of course, Chris G, the guy who knew who the Rudy spoken word, he
crushed it. I'm upset that we didn't get like a reflection from Michelle about that experience because we knew that he was going to be good because he even knew who the hell was up there. But he was so good, and I wanted so much more of that. And ABC, you didn't get it. It tells me that Chris G doesn't get very far, which is a bummer.
I know. We still haven't seen anything from him or Romeo, which were two of the guys that I mentioned that I wanted to see more of. So I'm really hoping that we do get to know them because I feel like they're good people. And the thing, like, and going back to when I was asking you about your opinion on spoken word is it's either you kill it and it makes you look super sexy or you don't and you look super awkward. And Chris G killed it. It was like the most attractive he's been the entire time. And then Jamie completely disregarded, you know, and that is a red flag to me. I want to know what your opinion of that is.
Yeah, I thought that was very rules don't apply to me. I'm going to do whatever I want here. And it wasn't in like this like cute creative, oh, like look what he did with this challenge. It was dismissive and made it impossible to get to know him better, which I think was sort of the point. Agreed. So, we were already not having good Jamie feelings. So things escalated in the context of Jamie on this group date. So we get to cocktail hour. Initially, we see Michelle and Brandon have like a very sweet moment. Brandon is smitten. He's a smitten kitten. Yeah. And
they have some chemistry.
They have some chemistry. It's very I get the feeling of like your first boyfriend or girlfriend in high school vibes. Like
I agree.
They're like
puppy love.
Yeah, very puppy love, which is sweet to watch because it feels actually like quite genuine, at least on his part. I mean, I could tell that she likes him. I don't know if she's as interested in him as he is in her because I think that there are some guys that she's like very, very drawn to on a lot of different scales.
Agreed.
But with Jamie, he has his one-on-one in pure Jamie fashion. He comes away from it and he's like, oh, I got nothing to worry about. I'm only worried about Jamie and Michelle connection.
More red flags.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not worried at all. I'm getting that group date as far as I'm considered. It's in the bag. Yeah. He's just like giving off this front of like, I'm unbothered, which like all I'm hearing you say in this backwards way is I'm bothered. And then we see him talk shit to one of the producers.
I know.
Technically offset.
Oh my God. So
yeah, give it to me.
Okay. So Brandon gets the rose and then he's completely offended by that and does a 180 and doesn't go to anyone in the house or anyone. He literally pulls what a PA, I'm pretty sure it's an assistant. It's not even a producer. And using words like, I have to wait 6 more weeks to get to the end of this. It's a spring break mode and a bit of a turnoff. Doesn't mean I can't make fun of it is something else that he said, which I think is so disrespectful because the reality is that when Michelle watches this back, if Jamie, let's say Jamie somehow miraculously made it to the end and they are now engaged, which I do not foresee that happening at all. But if she were to watch this back and that be the circumstance, you just made yourself look like a complete asshole.
Imbecile. Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
imbecile. And the other thing he said that I thought was really kind of terrifying was him saying during his one-on-one time, you know, she's captivated. That was so icky to me because it's like,
Yeah.
bro, you are so focused on her being obsessed with you that you aren't even using language like, I'm really interested to see where my connection goes with Michelle. I'm so excited that we had this moment and we were able to share moments of our history together or whatever.
Yeah.
None of that. It's all about go me. I'm a hot shot. Michelle's obsessed.
Is there a term for when someone is like being like naming this sort of delusional statement where it's like, this person is obsessed with me and I am just
arrogant?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I felt that it was like a specific like tactic, but because I don't have the word for it, it's really not useful here. The fact that but it is like a little bit delusional, and for the sake of maybe convincing himself and the other person that
true,
she's enamored with me, like we're going the distance. It's like you have not read the room. I could tell in that kiss, he went, first of all, maybe this is just my personal opinion, so let me name that. But if you're going to go right into a kiss, our mouths have not even touched, and you're already putting a tongue near my mouth.
Oh.
Get out. Jail.
I must have been writing notes because I didn't see that, but I completely concur. You gotta start with lip connection, then you slip the tongue. There is not tongue going, oh, I'm so with you.
Yeah.
But
and
I do think it's a preference.
Sorry.
No,
What?
you're good. I'm just saying. She pulled it back. Go, Michelle. But I do think it's a preference. I think that there's probably some people out there where that doesn't bother them as much, but I'm with you. I am with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And no shade to them. But if you're trying to put your mouth near my mouth, me specifically, Brianna,
we're training you.
We're training you. Take this as a cue. I could tell that she wasn't into it. On the kissing topic, this is something that came up in my watch party, my household, and I wanted to get your opinion on it. So the feedback on the experience of kissing a lot of people on this show was discussed as this, like, this doesn't, I'll just name it. My dad was like, I don't get it. She's kissing all of these people. How can she like everyone? How is she engaged with everyone in this way? And so I was asking him questions. I was like, well, could you imagine the show without any kissing? And he was like, well, I guess not, for the sake of the show trying to be entertaining. I said, yes, but also it's quite a natural progression of two people building a connection romantically, right?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if it feels more of like a generational cultural shift, that kissing is far more accessible in our more current modern dating processes. And just wanted to know what you thought about that.
Yeah, I completely think you're on the right track there with the generational thing, because the reality is that the generation before, the couple generations before us were a little bit or way more conservative. The culture in America was way more conservative. You know, in the 50s, you were wearing a suit to Disneyland, right? Now you wear a bikini with a tank top and not booty shorts. What are they called? High-waisted shorts where your butt crack's sticking out. And that's totally fine, you know, to Disneyland. So I do think that as a country, as we've grown and as we become more progressive, and these movements that we're having towards equality and all of those things, like sexuality has also progressed. And also with dating apps, the accessibility and pressure to form a connection has also been exacerbated, is the word that's coming to mind. But yeah. So, I mean, and look, I've thought the same way in the past as your father has, but I do think, as we all know, that sexual chemistry is a big part of a relationship. I think that some people use sexual chemistry as a way to progress relationships more quickly, because if that's something that they whether it's manipulative or whether for me in the past, I used to really lead with my sexuality, thinking that was the only piece of value I carried as a woman too.
Right. You were like, this is the only way I'm going to progress forward is if I do X, Y, Z.
Show my boobs. Yeah. Or whatever. So like, so it's just like, yeah,
it's nice to meet you.
Exactly. Yeah. That's it. Literally though. Like, I mean, I'm being dramatic, but I feel that a lot of women feel that if they can't offer that, then there's no way that they're going to be able to find a match. Now, doing what I do, I also know that that's complete baloney. You know, we have much more value as women than just what's between our legs and what we can bring to the table. You know, we have so much more to offer than that. So anyway, I get what your father's saying. I do think it's a generational thing. And I think that more importantly in the context of this show is don't rush the kiss, because that's super awkward. And you need to let it happen when it happens. And we've already seen her pull away from certain men who are trying to instigate that when she's not ready, you know?
Right.
So, or initiate that. Yeah. So, yeah.
And we saw Jamie get the door in this episode. We love it.
Let's talk about how that went down, because this to me, like, we get to the cocktail hour. As we said before, he's saying language like momentum of Jamie being Jamie, which is like, again, so self-absorbed, you know?
Also, like, what are you saying when you say that? Because you using your own name and to be descriptive of your actions tells me absolutely nothing and makes it that much harder to understand what the fuck you're talking about. Also, just to provide a little bit of context, another salad guy, Rick, tabletop, went to Michelle in like a one-on-one conversation and was like, hey, just wanted to check in with you about this situation. Mentioned that it was Jamie, or I'm sorry, he was talking about like the vibe in the house, in that like no one was really questioning her character. They wanted to sort of check in with her about that because obviously that really affected her. And then Jamie was mentioned because Michelle brought it up. She was like, actually, this is how I even became aware of this. And then Rick, along with a couple other guys, confront Jamie in a small group. And then they're in a larger group because they're obviously getting ready for Michelle to like approach them. And then more guys
awkward.
Oh God, it was horrible. More guys are confronting Jamie. It's blowing up in his face. His eyebrows and forehead are going wild in response. And everything, there's a lot of movement happening up there. And then Michelle comes down.
Yeah. I was really proud that Rick said something. I also thought it was maybe a little producery, a producer move to, and I actually rewound this and made Jordan look at it again because I thought this was super awkward. But how Rick goes and lights the fire by telling, I think it was Nate and maybe Clayton. Ideally, Rick would have gone straight to Jamie. But because of the placement of it being at the top of the stairs where there was a camera right there over everyone's shoulder, and then they make Jamie walk up the stairs to the group, it just felt really manufactured by the producers or whoever is kind of calling the shots here to make it a bigger, like, make it a bigger deal than it needs to be, because again, perfect world, you confront the person immediately, right? So yeah, lots of, when Jamie goes up to talk to them about the whole situation, lying again, talking in circles, shifting blame, all of that. And then Jamie comes downstairs, Michelle confronts him, and I hated how he started saying, apparently you had a conversation with Rick. And it was like, whoa, bro, like, said it very eloquently, but this is why it's really important to pay attention to the words that it's coming out of someone's mouth, because they can say very awful things in a tone that sounds really mature, but immediately is removing himself from the blame. There was a conversation between you and Rick. Go ahead.
It just felt like a desperate attempt to shift blame again.
Yeah. Again.
Which, again, if you're not already convinced that this person is, like, in this stage of his life, in a dating context, is a walking red flag, then, you know,
Yeah.
check in with yourself about what it is that you so desperately need from this interaction with this person.
And I love how the guy, like Romeo, to quote, he said he's slithering out of every question. And so, again, if you're feeling those vibes, guys, that there's a lot of words coming out of someone's mouth, but there is no meat to them, there's no substance, there's no clarity, red flag. And so, yeah, he just spirals around in the corner. Michelle finally cuts him off and removes him privately, doing the very emotionally mature thing, pulling him for the chat. And Michelle immediately, I feel our trust was completely broken. So using a nice statement to say exactly how she felt, get straight to the point. And then again, Jamie kind of being like, I don't know. And Michelle saying, Jamie, you put that out there. You were the one that started this. She's collected enough evidence at that point to literally, bro, you're not getting away with this anymore.
Right.
It's in a consensus that you were the one that stirred this entire thing up to begin with.
Right.
Yeah.
This is when I texted you and was like, her experience as a teacher is coming through and like giving her such great tools to be able to handle a situation where someone is working very hard to distract you from owning any responsibility and trying to make you think that you didn't experience the conversation the way that you believe that you have, you know? So the way that she handled the group, the way that she, with such, like, it felt so effortless, the way that she was just like, I did not want to address everyone this way, but you and me, we're going to go have a chat. I was like, oh, that's her teacher voice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She about to get the yardstick.
And that's hilarious. Yeah. And the other thing is she did a service for Jamie in that moment, because she could have easily stayed in the group setting and basically let the guys hound on Jamie for her. And she didn't. She did like a very respectable thing and saved the public humiliation as much as she could with the house, and just pulled him aside, sent him home, you know, stated her piece, sent him home, done, you know? So yeah, applause, killing it.
Applause.
Michelle, keep it up.
Yeah. So do you have anything else on the episode that you wanted to check in before we do our red flag of the week, green flag of the week?
For me, it was Jamie's circulatory talking. That to me was the biggest red flag that I would like people to take away from this episode.
That's a strong contender. My biggest red flag is Peter's behavior while his ego was severely bruised and checked. So I would love for people to be aware of what happens to your partner when they feel attacked, when they feel threatened in any way, shape, or form. And maybe it's not directed at you, but pay attention to how they handle that kind of hit.
Yep. Yes. Love that. Biggest green flag.
Biggest green flag was how Michelle stood her ground in the unveiling of Jamie's miscommunications. I thought that she handled that with a lot of grace and just really never wavering what her experience may have been like. She never once was like, oh, maybe it wasn't that way. No, she was like, that wasn't the conversation that we had. That's new information that you're adding to the chat. You know, I'm paraphrasing. But.
Yeah. But important. Yeah, completely agree there. My green flag moment goes to Rodeny, and in him displaying healthy communication on his one-on-one and asking the question of what went wrong in your last relationship in a very calm, receptive, easygoing manner that created a safe space for her to be vulnerable and share that experience with him. My green flag goes to Rodeny. And I just had deja vu.
Whoa.
Oh, that's super
what do you
crazy.
Think, what's your philosophy on, first of all, yes, green flag to Rodeny. He deserves it. Period.
Yeah.
What's your philosophy on where deja vu comes from?
Dude, I don't think I have a hardcore, this is my belief system around it. I do
Mm-hmm.
feel that sometimes it could mean that you're on the right track, you know, like
Mm,
as I had that deja vu moment, it was like I have seen this before. Like I've envisioned this, I've dreamed about this happening, which is weird because it
mm,
wasn't conscious until this
mm,
moment.
mm-hmm.
And it's, you know, so I do feel that I guess my 2 cents would be deja vu
It's
means you're on the right
confirming.
track, you're going somewhere, it's confirming, it's a good thing. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
I think that mine show up in dreams, but I don't hold a lot of weight in my dreams. Like I think that my dreams
Right.
are oftentimes like a really active space where my brain likes to go when it didn't get to exercise all of the things that it wanted to about maybe the things I was stressed out about or excited about or grieving
Yeah.
or suffering from. But deja vu sometimes does strike me as like, I've seen this movie before,
Yeah. Exactly.
in a dream.
Yeah.
Cool.
All
That
right. Yes, let's go into Reddit cues. We
a
have a
Reddit
Reddit cue
cues.
for you guys.
Okay, well, I pulled this Reddit queue. I forgot to save their username. So we're going to call this person Bob.
Bob.
Reddit user Bob. They did identify as male. They did identify as male. So Bob writes to the Reddit community. He says that I found out that my wife cheated on me 10 plus years ago. I've basically avoided her the past couple of days, but I feel that that's not really the right move for much longer. What are the best first steps in not letting my marriage fall apart? Is it wise to continue taking time to myself and basically not interacting with her at all? And while that is the TLDR on the whole admission, I want to just provide a little bit of context that he's been married for like 9 years, and within the first year of their relationship, she was seeing someone casually on a friends with benefits category, while they had had a discussion about becoming exclusive. The timeline on it is quite fuzzy, and the way that he found out was recently he saw emails that she had forgotten to delete. He confronted her about it, and she confirmed.
Okay, cool. Thanks for that context, 'cause that definitely changes the way I view this. Yeah, I mean, because that, if I'm remembering correctly, the question is that he's calling it, she cheated on me, right?
Yeah. And
And
he's
so,
not really interested in breaking up over it.
right. And so I feel like this is one of those things, like, one, it happened a long time ago. He says in the TLDR 10 plus years ago. And if it happened when in that transition moment from friends with or like they were casually dating other people, so her keeping a friends with benefits wasn't a big deal, into them becoming exclusive, it's such a gray area. I think what matters is where her heart is now and what has happened since, because they're married now, correct? So what has happened in the construct of your relationship when it has been exclusive, when you have been married? How does she feel about it now? Is she very like, you know, yep, that happened, get over it? Or is she like, oh my God, yeah, so sorry you saw that. I did, you know, when we became exclusive shortly thereafter, this happened, but I cut them off, da da da. You know, and I feel like the way to at least move forward, because his question is what are the best first steps in not letting my marriage fall apart, is to sit down and share with her what you need from her in order to feel safe, in order to feel understood and heard, and to build trust again. Is that even an issue? You know, because again, the timeline, it sounds like it happened prior to them being a full-on couple. But yeah, that would be that. And then also sharing what you need from her in order to
Move forward.
ease your own mind. Yeah. And move forward. Yeah.
I
What about
totally
you?
agree. I think that putting some intentional listening on where she's at in their relationship right now is very important. And it's important not to let all of the feelings that come with the past infidelity cloud where she may be at right now. Like, you really have to open your ears and be present in asking for that expression from your partner in a situation like this. Mm-hmm. I do want to clarify that she was still sleeping with this person after they had established exclusivity within their relationship.
Okay. Got it.
So what I think is, what I actually give him credit for is not seeing this, while finding out about infidelity that happened much earlier on in your relationship can be so difficult, because the feelings that you feel once you become aware of something like that is so fresh, while for the other person, they have had likely years to like heal those wounds. I also come from the belief that I don't think that all of our mistakes and all of our transgressions need to be expressed within our relationships. If you feel that you are like, if you feel that this is something that you had to deal with personally and that you have worked really hard to like tie up and put away, and now you're in a different place. I know that not everyone may feel that way. That's where I am. So I think, per Esther Perel's research and insight on what infidelity really means in relationships, and not subscribing to what we typically assign to infidelity, which is always the end to a relationship. I think it would be really important to get to know a little bit more about, from his partner, his wife, what motivated her to continue to seek out a sexual experience from this person after they had established exclusivity. And what I'm suggesting is, see if you are able to be in a space where you can allow your partner to share what that was like for them, to understand their decision making at the time, to really get a read on, was this person hurting me and not caring? You know, do they still have, you know, I think that would tell you a lot about your partner as an individual. Are those behaviors, those patterns showing up still in your relationship now?
Yeah, I agree with that.
And if you're having trouble moving forward with your wife in this conversation, go to therapy.
100%. Yeah.
Get a therapist, get a coach, get someone who is certified, trained, licensed, whatever the qualifications that you feel most comfortable with. Have someone who is neutral and qualified to be in the room for these conversations, so that you can get some adaptable skills to be able to work towards reconciliation and move away from divorce, if that's what you both want. Because it doesn't have to mean divorce. It doesn't have to mean splitting up. It does have to mean really working hard to understand each other in a really selfless and selfish way. Like, you want to be able to own your feelings and have your feelings heard and respected, but you need to be selfless enough to hear your partner in return. Yeah.
Agreed. Killed it. Good job.
We done did it again.
We done did it again. Alrighty. So for any of you, if you have a dating and relationship question, visit our website, ditchthescriptpod.com, and submit your question to us, and we'll read it off on the next episode. And then the other thing I wanted to say, follow us on the gram and TikTok at ditchthescriptpod. Anything else, Bri?
I would love to hear from people. I would love to hear from people. No, like, chat with us. Let us know what you think about what we're doing so far. The other thing that I want to add is, if you are enjoying what we're doing, please write a review on Apple Podcasts, write a review on YouTube. For those of you that have done it, thank you. Your feedback is so appreciated. But it really helps us get these conversations out to more people. And we are doing this, one, because yes, we love having fun and we love spending an hour and a half together every single week. But we also are doing it because we find that this conversation can be valuable to people that don't often have a therapist bestie, a relationship coach bestie. And if you do, don't exhaust them of their free labor.